Yo, what's good, boys? Today I'm going to be testing whether or not the Nvidia optimize settings are actually good to run on Fortnite. So when you load into Fortnite, there's an auto set feature below like all the settings, or they might have actually moved it above all the settings, and it auto sets all the settings to what they think is best for your system. On this computer, they set everything to epic and cap the frames to 60. On my Nitro 5, they set most things to high or epic and then cap the FPS to 60. So which is kind of weird because my computer is capable of running way more than 60 FPS on all epic settings. So the Nvidia one is different. It will actually tell you what your current settings are, and it will tell you what the optimal settings are. It can also change some things in the Nvidia control panel as well. It also tells you your path, and you can launch it from here as well. And when you scroll over every setting, it tells you which one it would change and what it does, and it gives you an example of each, which is actually pretty cool in my opinion. Yeah, rendering mode performance. So I'm playing on performance mode 1080p with everything on as low as it can go, except I think view distance and textures, which I think I have on high. You know, view distance is on epic, textures is on high. Basically all we're going to do is we're going to press optimize. It's going to do this. It's going to switch everything over, and since I don't have my game open, it says current. Okay, so now all our settings are on current. So it switches to DX11, which it says is the best because it's been more widely tested, but DX12 might offer a performance increase but hasn't been as widely tested. So we'll test both DX11 and DX12 here. We will test in creative as well as in a game of Team Rumble for the worst case scenario. But let's see. We'll test DX11 and DX12, and then we will also test Fortnite's auto set. And then at the end, we will test my settings in performance mode, and we will see which one I would prefer. And then some closing thoughts, and then the outro. So let's go into settings. All right, we're on DX11, unlimited settings, VSync's off. Hey, it left VSync off. Kudos, Nvidia. But running TSR, which is like Fortnite's version of DLSS, has these off, which is good. I don't like either of those. That's kind of concerning. Shadows got way more intense here recently. Reflections are off. Okay, so this is pretty much just like the fake RTX, which they have off, which is good, but that's because we're on DX11. High-res textures. This is just downloading. I have them installed, and effects and post-processing are on Epic. So it's pretty much just Fortnite's old Epic settings, if you guys remember, before they added all this TSR garbage in the shadows and in the global illumination and reflection, then some newer ones as well. But here's the auto set quality I was telling you guys about up here. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into creative and see what we're getting for frames. Obviously we're uncapped, but we're capped at 120 in the lobby. That's a Fortnite cap. It's really bright. I think that's just the creative hub though. Jump into my Tilted Towers map. Before we do get started, I would just like to apologize about not having any game audio. It's just creative with a little bit of Team Rumble gameplay, which maybe equates to about 30 or so seconds, so I wouldn't worry about it since most of the audio is just cranking in creative and it's not anything insane. So sorry about that. For most of my performance tests, I do a run where I just like run through this city a little bit. All right, that's cool. You can see, whoa, that's not there in performance mode where all those pieces just come off. But yeah, so we're getting about 90 to 100 FPS. I will actually open up RTSS here real quick so we can see. I'm not running any overclock here on my 3070, and if I was, it would still mimic like an aftermarket card. It looks pretty good, but I would personally prefer high refresh rate experience. Yeah, I can definitely tell it's not high refresh rate. My editing's not as quick. Okay, but I can hit the triple edit though. It's definitely not as consistent of frames. I can feel that because sometimes I'll be able to hit the triple edit and it feels good and it feels nice and responsive, and then at other times, like right there, it just didn't even edit at all, which could be because I'm pressing F again to enter the edit for the wall before it finishes editing the cone. But as you can see, my ping's not the bottleneck here. I have like 5 ping. But yeah, now that we're higher up and not seeing as much of the city, you can see we're getting a little bit better performance because there's not as much shadows being loaded. And I just pre-edited a door. But yeah, so I'm either pressing F again or my next key to build whatever it is before the game actually registers the edit. I would even prefer DX11, just low settings over this, because Fortnite's kind of a game where I prefer lower settings because it makes the game look brighter. Although the game does look a lot better at night, I will give it that. Yes, this is an FPS test, but I'm recording with OBS because with the NVENC new encoder, it does pretty much nothing to your performance compared to on my Nitro 5 with the NVENC, the old NVENC encoder. It's not the Turing architecture. On the 1650, it doesn't have the Turing architecture, whereas the 1660 and newer has Turing. And I think Ampere is actually even better yet. So I'm not even worried about OBS lowering my performance or anything on here. Although its preview and other settings might have a little bit of a deficit, not a crazy amount. My RTSS isn't showing. Show on screen display. That is our DX11 setting run. I could do it in game as well. That would just take too long. That's like tilted towers anyways, so it's pretty demanding and pretty representative of what in-game would be. I mean, obviously there's not players everywhere, but there's builds that could simulate player builds, and there's a lot more builds than what probably would be there anyways. So that can simulate the players as well. So that's a pretty accurate simulative test. Now let's go ahead and switch it to DX12. Why? Yes, I know. Okay, so this should be the same settings, just on DX12. Since it tried putting us on DX11, I'm going to assume it wants global illumination and reflections off, as well as all the new settings. And now we actually have RTSS working this time. So hopefully this will be a little bit better of a test. Okay, DX12 dropping into like the area where I run around. Oh yeah, we're getting 20 more FPS maybe. I think we were like 90s, 100s. We're like 110s, 120s. It was a lot more stuttery when I jumped in, but the game looks a little brighter as well. But we're getting a lot more FPS. So let's try and do the cranking that I usually do. Oh yeah, this feels a lot smoother. It's like when the moment you're dropping below 100, it kind of feels a little bit choppier. But now we're up 120 past 140s, whereas we were still dropping to like 90s while cranking last time. And I'm not missing any triple edits except for when I am just bad, because I am bad at this game. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to go with the Nvidia settings, to play DX12. This is a gameable experience. I feel like I could kill people on this. I feel like I could kill people with this much frames. All right, and now let's jump into the auto set settings. So for the auto set settings mode, we are going to be using DX12 just because that is what performs better, and we get more performance options when we use DX12. I also have to restart my game because I just switched from performance to DX12 because I forgot to record the auto set. Yeah, so DX12 does get better performance, although it does open up more settings, so it could actually cause worse performance because it opens up global illumination and all that geometry stuff. In DX12, still unlimited. Just gonna click on auto set. Okay, so we're using TSR Epic. And put our 3D res to 72. We can't adjust it while TSR is being used. The recommended TSR setting, told you it was going to open us up to everything. So it's got all the fake RTX stuff on, but I don't think it actually turned on hardware ray tracing. I don't see hardware ray tracing in here, which is actually, it's curious. Is this ray tracing? I think this is ray tracing. Lumen high and epic quality, real-time ray traced reflections. But I don't think we'll be using global illumination and reflections in creative because it says it's not available in this game mode. So I'm just going to say that we're not using ray tracing, even though we might be. We will jump into a real game and see if it is different. It also capped us at 60 FPS, so I'm going to uncap that. Yeah, we're not using it or else the performance would have dropped. So overall, this auto set, even though it did apply global illumination for when you're playing like an actual game, which it doesn't, it's not supported in creative, but yet they'll probably support it once creative 2.0 comes out. For creative purposes, it's just going to be pretty much exactly the same performance on DX12, exact same performance on DX11 as well, because DX across both creative and in game, because DX11 just doesn't support it, period. FPS looks about the same as it did for just standard DX12 optimize. The game looks about the same. If we do our run through, yeah, there's definitely a lot more particles falling. But if we do our just standard run through, performance is about the same. So yeah, pretty much in creative, you won't be able to notice a difference. I don't see any crazy reflections. I mean, I do see my reflection a little bit, but it looks like a Fortnite reflection and not ray traced. Because ray trace would look like a mirror, although it is pretty good. It is pretty good. But I think that's just Fortnite effects. I don't think that's any of our reflections or lumen stuff. Let's hop into a Team Rumble match. I bet our performance is going to drop to like 60s, 70s from 150s-ish because we're going to be able to use the new settings. Hello, Stinkbug. It is taking a long time to load into this game. Oh yeah, I knew it was taking us a really long time to load in. But yeah, 40 FPS, so there's definitely some lumen and global illuminations going on as well as reflections, which we can see here. It looks ray traced. This definitely looks ray traced. This doesn't look like... That is weird. I think that we are seeing water physics here, because it looks like there's ripples and stuff. It's really weird. That looks pretty bad. That could be TSR though. But yeah, this looks... That almost does look ray traced. It could be because it's water. We're definitely seeing some global illumination and some lumen here. Oh yeah, that's ray traced. That is definitely ray traced. So I think ray tracing is on. Yeah, that definitely looks, it looks a lot better than creative did, I guess you could say. But like, oh yeah, that's definitely ray traced. That's definitely like God rays or something right there. So I think we are running ray tracing, and I think that's why the game looks insane, but the performance is pretty bad. So let's try to pick up a kill with ray tracing on. Hey, I got him. But like everyone on my team was shooting him. And just the performance difference alone, this is what auto set turned on. So in creative we didn't notice a difference, but here we did. So I would definitely not recommend running Fortnite's auto set unless you have like a 4090 and a 1080p monitor, or maybe even a 4K monitor, 1440p 1080 4K, because this is bad. A 3090 would probably do it for 1080p. Just killed another kid. But the game looks insane, but my computer is higher end than most people's. There's some people whose computer is higher end than mine yet and could get better performance, but my computer is probably higher than 80% of other people's. It's probably better than 80% of other people's. So for the majority of you out there who have less than probably a 3070 Ti, a 3070 Ti might be able to deliver 60 FPS. Hello. A 3070 Ti might be able to deliver 60 FPS. An overclock on the 3070, a 3070 Ti overclocked will probably be able to. But yeah, oh, I'm out of ammo. I ran out of ammo. I would have had him if I didn't run out of ammo. And let's jump into the performance mode. We could also test DX11, DX12, my preferred settings, but I'm not going to do that because that's a completely different video. Why? We're also going to put all of these settings on as low as they can go, because this actually does affect your settings in performance mode for some reason. I don't know why. But chapter 4. Fortnite is still running because Epic screwed something up. It's doing the same thing GTA does when you Alt F4 it now. So you have to go into Task Manager and add the task sometimes. And as you can see now, we can launch it. But GTA, whenever you Alt F4, it still runs. So you have to go to Task Manager and close it. If you close it the right way, like you go into the menu and click quit, it usually closes. That is something that I noticed with chapter 4 of Fortnite. Alright, so here we are on performance mode. We'll just go with unlimited settings, even though I usually cap it 180. Still 1080p, VSync's off, geometry's off because DX12 must be enabled, which this runs on DX11, oddly, but interestingly enough. You can see up here in the top left, D3, D11. And then I usually put these on Epic because that's just what I prefer. Most people tell you for the most FPS to run it on all low, but I'm going to put it on Epic and turn on high meshes. And then let's go ahead and run the map. I'm expecting 180 to 300-ish, maybe a little more. Maybe I'm expecting 240 to 300-ish. So that's about what I get in game normally running around, unless it's an end game. It is a lot brighter. I don't know why it's so bright, but okay. Oh yeah, definitely between 240 and 300. And if I come here and just look at this wood all over my screen, let's look at this. Yeah, you can see there's not all the crazy particles. There's still some. There's not as many of them. We're getting over 300 FPS running around. Maybe this time going this way more because we're looking at mostly grass. Then more of a cityscape this way. But yeah, so if we go up and crank, oh, a lot smoother. That's definitely smoother than DX12 was. And it's definitely like 100 times smoother than DX11 was. We're literally double, almost triple the FPS in all cases. So yeah, my settings are by far the best out of all three of them. But Nvidia settings did look good. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to notice the global illumination or reflections or geometry or whatever anyways, because I am playing to win and not playing to look at, oh, look, a shadow. In fairness to them, DX12 did deliver a higher refresh rate experience almost 100% of the time. Definitely above 100 FPS, I think 100% of the time, almost. DX11, so they're true Nvidia settings, we were dropping below 100 a little bit, but if you just change it to DX12, we were above 100, I think 100% of the time almost. We're getting up into the 400s here. If I look at the sky, probably 500-ish maybe. So yeah. In fairness to Nvidia, they read what my monitor's hardware was, they read what my computer's hardware was, and they were like, okay, these settings seem good. This should get him close to what he wants and needs, while still making the game look really good. Personally, I prefer not having shadows, because you can see people easier and everything like that. But in fairness to Nvidia, their settings work. They do deliver a high refresh rate experience on DX12, given the DX12 is still fairly new, I guess, even though it's been out for like 3 years now. But DX11 obviously will be the only rendering option you have if you are on super old hardware. They did remove DX10 from the game a few years ago, so fortunately, if your graphics card only supports up to DX10, you won't be able to play at all. Yeah, so my settings are definitely by far the best. Nvidia settings, to be fair though, do deliver a playable, enjoyable experience. Yeah, but now I will share some ideas I have about how they can improve their, I guess, optimizability, you could call it. So let's do that now. So my settings were obviously by far the best, almost doubling or tripling the performance in game compared to Nvidia's. However, Nvidia is assuming that everyone wants high settings, the highest settings they can have in their game, to have insane shadows or whatever. That's just personal preference compared to Nvidia's optimized settings. So what I think they could do to make it so that they can actually target everybody's personal preference is put like performance mode, or is put like performance targeted optimize, like just have different modes that you can optimize for, like a selector, you know. I think that would improve it so much and it would make the Nvidia optimized thing a lot more of a viable option for a lot of people. That's something I think Nvidia could do to improve upon it. Anybody at Nvidia sees this video, maybe take this idea into consideration. Anybody knows anyone at Nvidia, go ahead, send this over to them. That's an idea I have about how they could improve upon it. Yeah, then I think it would actually be a viable option that a lot of people might want to use. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys found this video entertaining or informative, or if you're just watching at this point anyway, it must have been worth watching, so you probably did find it entertaining or informative. So go ahead, drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below whether you agree with my ideas of what Nvidia could do to improve upon it, or if you have a different idea for what Nvidia can do to improve upon their optimized system. With all that said, guys, that's it for me for today. Peace out.